What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of After Credits. I'm Liam, and I'm here with a super early review of one of my most anticipated movies of the year, Baby Driver. I'm really excited for this movie because it's directed by Edgar Wright, who is one of my favorite directors, if not my favorite director working today. Directed Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World's End. He's a fantastic filmmaker, and he makes really interesting movies. This movie actually doesn't come out to the end of June. Unlike our normal After Credits, because this doesn't come out for a while, this is actually going to be spoiler-free. There's going to be no spoilers in this review whatsoever. It is about a heist driver named Baby, played by Ansel Elgort. He's got sort of a hearing problem, and so he sort of drowns out his surroundings using music. And he uses music to plan out these heists. And he works for Kevin Spacey, who likes to put together these different crime teams. And so you get to see a lot of different actors who are part of these teams. You get Jon Bernthal, Jon Hamm, Jamie Foxx. It's getting to the point where Baby doesn't want to work for Kevin Spacey anymore. He falls in love with this girl played by Lily James, and he's trying to find a way to get out of this lifestyle. I'd heard good things about this movie, and I gotta say, it surpasses every expectation I had. I absolutely love this movie. This is by far my favorite movie of the year so far. I feel like Edgar Wright is almost kind of underrated in the sense that people recognize how great his movies are, but they don't really recognize the craft and skill that he puts into it. This movie is so well directed. He really bases each scene around the song that he's going to use. It almost feels like a musical because of how much music he uses in it, and I never felt like it was, the music was just trying to drown out bad filmmaking. Because sometimes if you have a really good song, you can put that on a mediocre scene and it can be really special. But Edgar Wright works with the music. He does a really great job at choreographing these action sequences. This is really, really well shot action, and in my opinion, this surpasses sort of the CGI fest you're going to see in a lot of things, because it obviously was done using real stunts, real cars. There wasn't a huge budget on it, but it looks really, really good. The cinematography, Edgar Wright is sort of known for, he can do a lot of quick takes, and he uses it to put in a lot of extra information, and he can actually do quick takes, like really quickly edited sequences, and he can make it look smart. He really sets up moments, jokes, elements of the movie that pay off down the line. And it's not something where it's like he foreshadows something this is obviously going to come later. All of his movies, you have to pay attention while watching them. And that's something I really love. This is a movie that demands you to be invested in it. And yes, it's got kind of a generic story. It's a heist movie. But the way he makes it is what makes it so special. Let's talk about the acting in this movie, because there's a fantastic ensemble. I've never been a huge fan of Ansel Elgort. I never saw Fault in Our Crap, and I don't like the Divergent movie, so I wasn't exactly sure what he was going to do in this movie. He really, really impressed me. This guy is charismatic as hell. He's kind of this quiet character, but in the moments where he has to be funny and charming, he does it perfectly. And he also plays the Edgar Wright dialogue perfectly, which is like, Edgar Wright requires, actors to understand the characters extremely well, and that's what you get in this movie. You can just tell that he's in character through each scene, and even in the action sequences you can see that he's emoting through this the way this character would. But like a lot of Edgar Wright's movies, it comes down to the side characters. Kevin Spacey is having so much goddamn fun. Kevin Spacey, I think, was born to do Edgar Wright movies because he's got that perfect comedic timing. He's this stern mob boss, but he's quirky. Kevin Spacey takes expositional dialogue and he makes it hilarious. Surprisingly, his character ended up being a lot more in-depth than I thought it was going to be, just based on the trailer. At the end of the movie, he really gets some great development, and he has a lot of great moments in this movie. He's a really interesting character. Jamie Foxx is super funny. Jon Bernthal is in the movie, not that long, but when he is in it, he's good. My favorite character in the movie was probably Jon Hamm. I've always liked Jon Hamm. This guy is so funny. He perfectly plays this kind of insane, joking crime guy. I really don't want to spoil anything, but he's so funny in this movie. All the actors are able to transition between serious and funny, like on the turn of a dime. That's the thing about Edgar Wright's movies is, yes, they're all technically considered comedies, but they've got a lot of depth to them, and it's usually because he writes such great characters. I hate it when comedies just randomly try to make you feel emotional for a moment, because it's like, fuck you. I mean, you didn't earn that. And Edgar Wright earns it in this movie, and you get so attached to these characters. Yes, it's a funny movie, but he's not just throwing random jokes at you. Every joke makes sense in the context of the story, in the context of the movie. And so I think these actors do a fantastic job at transition to that, because even whether it's serious or whether it's funny, it makes sense within that world. I say it's one of his more serious movies because the three movies with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, they definitely err more on the side of parody. I feel like this is a legitimate heist movie. It's just the fact that you got these quirks to it, and the great Edgar Wright dialogue. Lily James is in this movie. I thought she was fantastic. You totally fall in love with her in the way that Baby does, which is exactly what you're supposed to do in the movie. I've never really seen Edgar Wright attempt to do a romance like this. Most of his movies have just been bromances, but I really liked the relationship between Lily James and Ansel Elgort. I thought they had great chemistry. You really were rooting for them to succeed. This movie is actually fairly long. Usually Edgar Wright's movies are around an hour and a half. This is closer to 2 hours. It's definitely slower in the middle section, but that's kind of the intention of the movie. There's a part where he's not going on as many heists because of something that happens, and I like that it slowed down because it allowed us to focus more on the characters. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will just say this about the ending. I can see it being slightly divisive. I personally really like the ending. I thought it had a great emotional payoff. Edgar Wright, he definitely doesn't go for your cliche endings. This is definitely one of those movies I want to see again because I know that there's so many jokes and so many references and so many things that are set up earlier in the movie that you just have to see a second time. If you look at any of his other movies, there's like tons of video essays online just examining every single joke because they're so layered. But when I walked out of this movie, I definitely wanted to go see it again, not just because I really enjoyed it, but because I know that there are so many references that I want to get. And it's not one of those annoying things like when you see a comic book movie and you see, oh, there's like 15 million Easter eggs. I'm like, I don't want to look for those. With an Edgar Wright movie, I want to look for those again because Edgar Wright makes movies for movie fans. The other thing I'll say about this movie is, again, like many other Edgar Wright movies, they seem to follow a sort of conventional film genre, but they kind of altered in ways you wouldn't expect. So this movie definitely had some twists and turns that I didn't see coming. This is obviously Ansel Elgort's story. All the other side characters have a fair amount to do, but it's really focused on the central character and the central romance. And that, I think, was the most important part, and he handled that perfectly. Now we're getting to my final thoughts on the movie. Like I said, I was really excited for this movie because I'm a fan of Edgar Wright. I think if you are an Edgar Wright fan, you're going to like it. But even if you're just a general movie fan, this movie is so well done that you can appreciate the film craftsmanship of it in a way that maybe more so than any of his other movies. It's definitely an unconventional movie, but I feel like this might be able to relate more to more average moviegoers than any of Edgar Wright's other films. Not to say his other films don't relate to average moviegoers, but I feel like this is you're going to see a variety of people going to see this movie for different reasons, and I think they're all going to really enjoy it. But like I said, this movie is an absolute blast. From scene one to the last moments of this movie, I was completely gripped. I was never bored at any point, and I'm not just saying that as a hyperbolic statement. I was like almost like waiting for the movie to slow down, and it didn't, and I love it for that. Acting across the board is phenomenal. Ansel Elgort, really a breakout role for him, I feel like, in terms of proving himself as an actor. You get some veteran actors giving great performances. It's my favorite movie of the year so far. It might be my favorite movie at the end of the year. I'm giving it 6 stars. Yes, this movie is that great. It is that awesome. Definitely go check it out. So if you like this video, please click the like button down below. Also make sure to subscribe to figure out whenever we have our new content up. We've got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I've got a blog, liammgahan.wordpress.com. I review every movie I see, so definitely check out my blog for more reviews and such. Our friend Noah is the Cinema Geek on Instagram. As for our upcoming reviews, we're going to go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 this weekend. We might be going to check out Lost City of Z, might check out Free Fire. May is crazy. We've got King Arthur, Alien Covenant, Baywatch, Pirates of the Caribbean, War Machine. There's a ton of great stuff. I'm back in the New York groove. I'm back in the New